Hello, everyone, and welcome to 247 Digitize's Legal Support Services webinar on contract compliance, what every organization should know. Before we dive into the agenda, a quick introduction to 247 Digitize. We are a US based company headquartered in Chicago, Illinois, with offices in India. For over 18 years, our international team has been optimizing and executing business processes with excellence. Our core services include legal support, data management, and bookkeeping. My name is Samuel de la Torre, and I'm the head of marketing at 247 Digitize. I have over 17 years of experience in marketing, both in traditional channels and digital channels. And I've worked in companies in different parts of the world, from North America to Europe, Asia, and Latin America. And I have also worked in different industries, from retail to insurance and more. I have an MBA from Esan School of Business and a diploma from IAPID University in Colombia in the topic of innovation. Joining me today is Krishna Veni, a contract lifecycle management expert with over 15 years of experience. Her deep expertise in document review and litigation, combined with her strong leadership skills, makes her an invaluable part of our team. She has successfully led large teams and is committed to deliver excellence through her wealth of experience. Before we begin, please feel free to leave any questions you have during the session, and you can do that on LinkedIn in the comment section for the webinar, and we will address them at the end. Now, I would like to request Krishna Veni to take this forward. Over to you, KB.
Sure. Thank you, Sam. Again, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining today's session on contract compliance monitoring. I'm really excited to walk you through this critical topic that plays a vital role in reducing risk and strengthening business relationships. Well, whether you're already involved in contract management or just getting started, this webinar will give you a strong foundation in how compliance is tracked, why it matters, and what happens when it's overlooked. So, today's agenda, here's what we will cover. We will begin with a clear introduction to contract compliance monitoring to ground everyone in the basics. Then we will walk you through the contract compliance lifecycle, different stages, so you can see how it functions step by step in real business scenarios. After that, we will explore the advantages of proactive monitoring, followed by some of the real world challenges companies face. Finally, we will take a closer look at the consequences of non compliance and why getting this right is more important than ever. Well, before we begin, I want to let you know that in our next session, the upcoming next month session, we will be focusing on best practices for contract compliance monitoring, which includes strategies, tools, and insights that will help you implement what we discussed today. So stay tuned for that upcoming webinar too. Okay, the next slide. Let me introduce you to the contract compliance monitoring. Let's dive in with a quick introduction to what actually contract compliance monitoring really is and why it's becoming such a key for focus for organizations today. Well, contract compliance monitoring ensures that all parties fulfill their obligations as outlined in the contract. As you can see, it's not just about legal obligations, but also about meeting performance standards, timelines, and quality expectations. Contract compliance monitoring is the process of regularly reviewing and verifying whether the parties involved in a contract are adhering to the terms, obligations, and performance requirements agreed upon in that contract. Contract compliance can be monitored manually, especially for the smaller contracts or the organizations, and when dealing with very limited number of contracts. The better path over time start with manual methods if needed, but gradually move toward digital tools or contract lifecycle management systems as your contract becomes more complex or numerous. These tools offer automation, alerts, dashboards, and audit trials, all of which reduce risk and save time. 247 has such expertise as well on different contract lifecycle management systems. The big question, why contract compliance monitoring matters. It matters because contracts are at the core of nearly every business operation, from vendor relationships and service agreements to employment terms and strategic partnerships. When obligations aren't clearly tracked or enforced, even minor issue can snowball into major risks. So, proactively monitoring contracts helps organizations stay ahead of potential issues, enforce accountability, and ensure the business agreements deliver their intended value. Let me cite an example here. In 2017, a major construction firm faced a lawsuit because they failed to meet the quality standards outlined in their contract. The cost of the lawsuit, delays, and reputational damage far exceeded the initial project budget. Now, another big question, who's responsible? So, in the company, majorly, we call out the departments such as legal and compliance, procurement and finance, contract owners and stakeholders, or and project or the operations managers. Well, this is the end of the introduction. I hope it's all clear, and let's move to contract compliance lifecycle. What does the lifecycle do? It provides a clear framework for managing contract compliance from the beginning to the end. This helps highlight that compliance isn't a one off activity but an ongoing process with distinct stages that each require focus and follow through. Here on the screen, you see there are three key stages that have been defined or mentioned. However, while I am going through the stages, I'll go a little depth as well. So let's begin with the first stage, the pre-contract, wherein the planning and drafting happens. So how do I describe pre-contract? Would be scope, objectives, and terms are defined. And then contracts are drafted, reviewed, and negotiated at this stage. And what would be the compliance focus? Ensure legal and regulatory terms are included, such as GDPR, CCPA, anything that is region specific. Roles, deliverables, and the KPIs, payment terms, these all should be clearly defined. Also, risk clauses and compliance requirements are to be documented. We also have a stage called the execution or the signing stage where the contract is finalized and signed by all the parties. So the compliance focus must be on validating all signatures and the authorizations, store the version control final contract, confirm contract is accessible to stakeholders, very important. Implementation stage, which also is commonly known as kickoff or setup. So here both parties begin executing their responsibilities. And what would be our compliance focus? Set up compliance tracking tools or systems, assign contract owner or compliance officer, and also monitor deadlines, SLAs, and milestones. There's another important stage which is called the performance monitoring or the ongoing compliance, where the services products are delivered and managed. Here, the criticality and the focus should be on the tracking of the financial transactions such as invoices and payments or so on, and check data protection, confidentiality, and IP use. Ensure reporting and audit rights are followed. Issue management, again a critical point. Dispute resolution and audits is what usually it falls under. Any non-compliance disputes or risks are to be addressed. So at this stage, log and escalate breaches or delays, conduct internal or external audits if needed, and apply remedies or penalties per the contract terms. Also, review compliance history and performance. It's very important. The final stage that we will be discussing is on the renewal or termination, and here contract ends or renews or transitions. It depends on the business or the requirements. And here, the compliance focus must be on addressing final deliverables and payments, ensure data return or destruction clauses are honored, and prepare for renewal or clean closure. One bonus tip that I would want to state here is using a contract lifecycle management tool can automate parts of this process, especially monitoring timelines, obligations, and version control. And at 247 Digitize, we help streamline this with customized solutions tailored to your workflow. Like I mentioned previously in my, if you have gone through the previous webinar, we do not support any CLM tool as such, but we have worked or have expertise on multiple tools. Now, let us move to the next slide, advantages of effective contract compliance monitoring. So, Sam, could you please take this topic and provide the audience with a clear explanation of what it is and why it is important?
Sure, thanks. Thanks, Peggy. So, I'd like to tell you about the advantages of effective contract compliance monitoring, as Kavi just mentioned. As you can see in this image, we'll be mentioning 6 points, and I'll provide examples in some of them. So let's start with risk mitigation. This means that ensuring compliance reduces legal risks and potential financial penalties. When companies adhere to laws, regulations, and contractual terms, they insure themselves against lawsuits, penalties, and negative publicity. Risk reduction entails determining areas that could lead to non-compliance and addressing them in advance. Let me give you an example. A technology firm enters contracts with multiple software vendors that include data protection clauses aligned with GDPR. Through contract compliance monitoring, the firm audits whether vendors have implemented proper encryption and data handling procedures as agreed. When one vendor fails to meet the security obligations, the issue is flagged early, enabling the company to take corrective action and avoid data breaches, regulatory fines, and potential lawsuits. Next, we have financial optimization. This means preventing unnecessary costs and ensuring that all financial commitments are met. Compliance and proper management of obligations help avoid costs like late fees, interest charges, or overpayments. It also ensures financial predictability and better budgeting by aligning expenditures with contractual terms. Going on to number 3, we have operational efficiency. It means streamlining processes by ensuring that obligations are met on time. Efficient management of compliance and obligations reduces delays, improves workflow, and prevents operational disruptions. It ensures that teams follow standard procedures and timelines. For example, a construction firm tracks vendor contracts that include detailed milestones, deliverables, and completion dates. Using a contract compliance dashboard, the firm identifies that certain subcontractors are missing interim deadlines, risking delays in overall project completion. Early detection enables project managers to escalate and mitigate delays through resource relocation. Next, we have improved supplier and partner relationships. This means building trust and strengthening professional relationships. Meeting commitments and being open with partners and suppliers builds long-term relationships. Trust and dependability tend to result in improved terms, priority service, and easier working. At number 5, we have regulatory adherence. It means helping organizations to stay in line with industry regulations and legal requirements. Most industries, such as healthcare, finance, and energy, are subject to stringent regulatory environments. For instance, HIPAA, GDPR, SOX, PCI DSS. Contracts frequently contain special clauses that help ensure vendors and partners stay within these legal limits. Contract compliance monitoring assists organizations in periodically checking whether contractual requirements based on such regulations are being fulfilled. Let me share an example of this. A healthcare provider works with third-party billing vendors under contracts that require compliance with HIPAA. The contract compliance team periodically audits the vendors' handling of patient data to ensure encryption, access locks, and storage protocols match contractual obligations. This ensures regulatory adherence and protects against legal liabilities. And finally, we have enhanced decision making, providing data driven insights for better business strategy formulation. When an organization tracks and analyzes compliance related data, it gains insights into performance trends, risk areas, and opportunities for improvement. This leads to more informed strategic decisions. For example, an energy company uses analytics from its contract compliance monitoring system to assess which suppliers consistently meet contract KPIs and which ones underperform. This insight influences strategic sourcing decisions, allowing the company to favor high performing vendors in future contracts and reduce reliance on those with repeated compliance issues. Now, I would like to ask KV to please take over the next slide.
Sure, Sam. Thank you. That was very detailed with good examples. Now, in the next slide, let us discuss on the challenges in contract compliance monitoring. And this is my favorite because without challenges, there's no solution. So, complexity of contracts is the first point that we will discuss, and legal language and numerous clauses make monitoring difficult. Yes, that's the truth. So, contracts usually consist of intricate legal language, various clauses, and region specific duties, which makes them difficult to interpret and track without legal professionals. So I'll cite this with an example. A pharmaceutical company signs a global licensing agreement with various clauses related to regulatory approvals, patent rights, and milestone payments. The contract contains a specific timeline for reporting compliance with local regulations in different regions. Now, due to the legal complexity of these clauses, the compliance team misses reporting a deadline in one region, resulting in a breach of contract and loss of the licensing rights in that area. Too sad. And then moving to the next point, there's lack of visibility, poor documentation, and tracking mechanisms hinder oversight. When contracts are stored in multiple locations, which I will never deny is a problem in all the organizations, with no unified tracking and monitoring system, it becomes difficult to track compliance with key obligations and deadlines. Let's face the truth. And then resource constraints. So organizations may lack dedicated personnel or technology for compliance monitoring. Limited staff and lack of automation make it more difficult to monitor large volumes of contracts effectively, leading to missed compliance points. I can cite this with an example. A logistics company with one contract manager, remember just one contract manager, misses price review clauses in dozens of agreements, causing auto renewals at outdated rates. So, evolving regulations is another point here, and frequent changes in laws and standards require continuous updates. Very crucial. Laws and standards change frequently. Without regular contract reviews, outdated clauses can lead to non compliance. Like Sam mentioned, the HIPAA, GDPR, it could be anything. The last one that I would like to highlight is on the non-standardized processes. Different departments handling contracts in varying ways can cause inconsistencies. This is another major problem where the cross-functional departments do not communicate. So by managing contracts their own way will create inconsistencies, gaps in compliance, and duplicated efforts as well. I can cite this with an example. A global retail company has its procurement department handling vendor contracts manually in the spreadsheets, while the finance department uses a separate system to track payments. A key vendor contract contains performance-based discount clauses, but due to inconsistent tracking across, like I mentioned, departments, the finance team fails to apply the discount during payment processing. This oversight results in company overpaying the vendor by tens of thousands of dollars. Again, very unfortunate situation. Well, this is the end of this slide. And Sam, could you take up the next slide, please?
Sure. Thanks, KB. Let's talk about the consequences of contract non-compliance. Contract non-compliance exposes organizations to considerable risks, from financial transactions to damage to reputation. The magnitude of the risks varies with the nature of the contract, industry, and the legal system. It is a responsibility as a contract manager to ensure that the organization adheres to the contract agreements. But there are risks involved in non-compliance. If the organization fails to fulfill its contractual terms, it may be held liable for damages. In certain situations, non-compliance can even result in the cancellation of the contract. Let me tell you about some of the usual risks involved in contract non-compliance. Let's start with number one, financial penalties and losses. There are fines and penalties. Failure to adhere to terms of the contract can lead to monetary fines, especially in contract with government institutions or highly regulated sectors. Loss of revenue. Non-performance against obligations can lead to loss of revenue, missed opportunities, or loss of payment under the contract. And legal fees. In case a dispute in a contract grows into litigation or arbitration, the fees for legal representation can be enormous. Next, we have litigation and legal action. Non-compliance can lead to breach of contract lawsuits, with a non-compliant party being sued. This can result in court decisions that can impose penalties, mandate specific performance, or even result in damages awarded to the other party. Contract non-compliance disputes can be disruptive and time-consuming, diverting resources from essential business activities. Number three is reputational damage. Non-compliance can do significant damage to an organization's reputation, especially if the violation becomes public or involves a high-profile customer. Lost relationships with customers, suppliers, or partners can result in lost trust and credibility. Reputational harm can also damage an organization's ability to win future contracts or gain new customers. Next, we have loss of business opportunities. Non-compliance can lead to contract termination, which translates to missed business opportunities. In competitive markets, it can also negatively impact an organization's market share. Subsequent opportunities with the same vendor or client may be lost, since non-compliance creates a deterrence effect that will make others unwilling to sign contracts with your organization. And finally, we have regulatory penalties. In highly regulated sectors like government, finance, and healthcare, contract non-compliance can invite regulatory attention, penalties, or audits. Regulatory authorities could impose penalties or limit the organization's business activity. Non-adherence to regulatory requirements in contracts, like data protection laws, for instance, can involve heavy sanctions. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. And I would like to let you know that we have reached the end of today's presentation. If you have any questions regarding this topic, please feel free to write in the comments section on LinkedIn. We're going to give you maybe a minute. So if you have any questions, please feel free to write, whether it's right now or whenever you're seeing this video. We'll be happy to answer as soon as possible. And while we're waiting for a little while, I'd like to remind you that this webinar will also be available on our LinkedIn page in the event section and in our YouTube channel. And you can also find our previous webinars there. What you're seeing here is KB's contact information. Please feel free to reach out to her if you have any questions on how our legal support services can help your business. We'd be very happy to tell you how 247 Digitizes legal support services can help your organization. So give me 1 second, please. Let's see if we have any questions, any comments. No comments for now. That's okay. As I mentioned before, if you have any questions, please, at any time you see this video, reach out to us and we'll be happy to answer and help you. And of course, as I mentioned before, tell you how 247 Digitize can help your business grow. With this, we conclude today's session. You can also visit our website at www.247digitize.com to learn more about our different services. We would like to thank you very much for your valuable time, and please stay tuned for upcoming webinars. Thank you very much, and thank you, KB.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Bye.